Hello everybody. In today's video, I want to code a simple Python backup tool for backing up the contents of my phone to my computer. Basically, it's going to be a very simple FTP script that accesses an FTP server on my phone. So we're going to just transfer files from the phone to the computer. What are we going to learn? Maybe we're going to learn a few Python basics. We're going to learn how to do FTP, file transfer protocol stuff in Python. And at the end of this episode, I want to have a small script that I can just invoke whenever I want to back up the stuff from my phone and then have files, images, videos backed up to my computer. Why am I doing this? Because backing up stuff from my phone is always annoying. What I usually do is I connect my phone and computer via USB and then I drag and drop files. It's kind of annoying. I just don't want to spend that time. I just want to I just want to actually open a server on my phone and download files just via a single press of a button effectively. That's the goal. So that's what Python is perfect for. Also, it's no fancy AI bullshit where we're just using a library and we don't even have any idea what's going on under the hood. And this is some real Python scripting. Maybe. We're going to see. Maybe it's also going to be trivially easy. I have no idea. All right. So in my projects directory, I have created a subdirectory called PyPhone Backup. That's essentially the directory that we're going to use. Probably we're going to use a virtual environment to manage all dependencies. And just to be sure, I want to change my default Python version from 3.12 because somehow when I use the very latest version, I always get errors, or I often get issues that I wouldn't get with a more stable version. So I want to change my version using Python pyenv, and in pyenv we can change the version somehow by picking a specific installation. I know that I have installed already one other version. Let's list the available commands here. Pyenv commands. So those are the commands. They are the exact same commands that are also listed on the help page. And by the way, if I just do Control-R, pyenv, then it will pick up the latest Python commands I have executed. So here, right. I in the past used pyenv local 3.10.13 because that's a version that I have installed. Now, once I have invoked that, if I do Python 3 version, then my version is switched to 3.10. So that's super practical. I always forget about this command, so I use Control-R to pick up or to recall former commands that I invoked in the past. And now with that specific Python 3 version, we can create a virtual environment to manage dependencies using Python 3-m venv. Venv, this invokes the venv module and passes venv as argument. Venv is the name of the folder that is now created. And this folder will hold all of our Python dependencies. I don't even know if we need any, but let's see. This is basically the precursor to all Python projects. Let's create a file called backup.py, and in it, I think before we can write anything, probably we need to look up things online. So let's open the browser here. Python FTP. Server? No, client, because the phone is going to be a client. Now let me tell you how I set up my phone. I installed from Play Store. It's probably the same thing on other operating systems. I use Android. I installed the CX File Explorer. Let me just show it to you guys. This is in German, but this is called CX File Explorer. Now, when I open this, there's a network tab down here. And in this network tab, we can click on this orangey button and start an FTP server. And this gives us an FTP URL, as you can see, FTP:// then an IP address. I can also zoom the camera a bit so you can see it better. So this gives us an FTP address here. And the address is 192.168.178.102, and then a port and a password and a username. And basically, the point of this is now that my phone is waiting for incoming connections on that specific URL. And I can log in from any other device that implements this FTP, this file transfer protocol. And then I can access the files on my phone from there. And effectively now we just have to install a Python FTP client here, maybe this one, FTP-lib, and access the files on the phone. We have to log in somehow with the username and password. And then we have to somehow download files from there. Now, I'm not sure what the best FTP client in Python is, but maybe it's the first one. What's the best Python FTP client? FTP-util is a high-level FTP client library. Yeah, that one is probably the one that we're going to pick, since it's the first one that's coming up. And there's nothing that I have to object against it. So let's have a look what we can find out about FTP-util. So, no, wait, FTP-util, FTP-lib, they are different implementations. FTP-lib or FTP-util? Well, if we don't know, then maybe we should pick the one that's better documented. FTP-util has a download function that's very good. Here we can download using a username and a secret. That's also very good. And this looks like this is exactly the thing that we want to do. What about the FTP-lib thing? This one also opens a connection to some URL, logs in. I don't know how credentials are passed. We can specify password and account here. List the directory contents. Let's see if we can download here. I don't see anything related to downloads here for some reason. So we can connect, we can log in, that's good. We can store a file in binary transfer mode. This sounds like it could be downloading something. So we pass a file object, which is read. Is this for uploading or for downloading a file? I don't know. But that one is quite opaque to me. I don't really understand it on first glance. Probably it's for downloading files. Let's pick FTP-util. It's on first glance, it's simpler. So what we do is we do pip install FTP-util. So let's do that. I will change into the projects directory in this bottom right pane as well. Phone backup. And then I want to source the virtual environment here. Source bin vnf bin activate, and then pip install ftp util. Okay, and it's already installed. And also in this terminal, we should also source from the vinf. Okay, and now if we do import ftp util, then this might already work. Let's just print a hello world to confirm that everything is fine. And execute the backup file using Python 3. And it prints hello world. There's no complaint on the import. I don't know if that's because we don't even use anything from the import. But all right, I think it sounds good. So now the next step is to download some files from the login directory. I want to download some files, basically. So we can do with ftp util ftp host, then we specify the URL, the user, and the password, and then that's the host. And then we can access the directory contents on this host directory here. Interesting. And then we list all the files. Let's just copy this snippet and see what we can do with it. The first goal is basically connect to my phone. So here we download the files from the current login directory. I don't want to download the files right away. I just want to list files from the first directory that we encounter, basically. So let's change the FTP host, and I'm looking up the address on my phone here. The address is ftp:// I don't even know if the ftp:// is even necessary here, since we're already inside an FTP library. So maybe this can be left out, but I'm just going to leave it in for now, just to be sure. And then the username is PC, personal computer, and the password is 512308. And ideally, actually, the password and the username should come from command line arguments. So let's do this. So we import, as far as I know, it's coming from OS. Let's just check here. Python command line arguments. We install sys, and then from sys we access argv. Okay, we don't access OS, but sys. And the username is sys.argv1, if I'm not mistaken, and the password is sysargv2. So here, instead of passing the username and password hard-coded, we just pass username and password like this. I hope this works, and actually we should also pass this URL here. Let's just keep the URL hard-coded for now, for a start. We can later change it to an environment variable or something. I mean, I don't want to specify the URL each time I invoke the Python script, because I want the Python script to be as simple as possible. I just want to open a server on my phone and then start the Python script and then have files downloaded. I want to pass as little as possible and assume as much as possible. So let's try to invoke this, and there's already an error, of course, because I did not specify the username and password. So we have to check sysargv if the length of sysargv is smaller than 3, I think, because the first argument is always the name of the executing script, and then the following arguments are the names of the past arguments. So in total that's 3. So if the length is smaller than 3, we have to print a usage. And then how do we print a variable in Python? Python print variable value. I'm looking for an alternative basically to C's printf, where we just print the variable value directly. And there is something that looks very similar. I don't know if that's what we want to do. Python 3.8 f string syntax. Is that looks like a format string? Let's have a look at Python f strings. Python f string. In Python source, an f string is a literal string prefixed with f, which contains expressions inside braces. The expressions are replaced with their current values. Some examples are import datetime, name thread. Let's have a look at the. Oh, it's an official Python PEP. I think those are, yeah, right. Those are Python enhancement proposals. So these are real developments on the Python implementation. I don't know if this one is implemented, but I would expect it to be. But let's have a look at a different source. Maybe this one. If we see something on w3schools.com, then we can be sure that it's definitely implemented. So this is an f string. Text, f, the price is $49. We can print it and it will print the price is $49. That's fine. But then we can add placeholders here and put variable names directly. Okay, that sounds good. And the variable that I want to place here is sysargv0. I hope it works like that, because this is actually not just a variable, but also a list access. And then user or FTP user and FTP password. Okay, and that could work. Let's just prefix the f. I almost forgot it. And now let's see. Python 3 backup.py still complains about list index out of range. Oh, of course, because we have to exit or return. Do we return or exit? Python return or exit. Exit, sys.exit. Okay, sys.exit. Let's see if this one works. Right, this one seems to work. Okay, so we execute the script. We get usage instructions with the name of the script itself as a first argument, index 0, and then the arguments it wants us to pass here. So that's a very good sign. Okay, we made it work. Now the username and password are extracted if we pass them as arguments. So the username was PC and the password was 512308. And what's that? Name or service not known. So something seems to be not working here. Let's have a look. The above exception was the direct cause of the following exception. Username, password as host, blah, blah, blah. There seems to be an FTP OS error. Name or service not known. Name or service not known. Maybe I shouldn't prefix FTP here in front of the URL, because that's effectively a service declaration. Let's see if it works now. No, it does not work. So maybe that's not the error. Let me just redo that. I will remove the download instruction here and print the name of the file. Name or service not known. Wow, great. I'm passing backup pi PC 512308. It's all correct. Is the address correct? Oh no, now it's definitely not correct. It should be FTP and then colon // 192.168.178.102.2325. Looks like it's correct. And we can maybe even cross-check this with some FileZilla, if that's available. Oh, it is. That's an existing FTP client. And if we can access the phone in FileZilla, then we should be able to access it programmatically via the script as well, logically. So let's launch that and see. If I enter the same URL here, FTP, blah, blah, blah. Let me just copy this part, paste it here. Username is PC, password is 512308. Oh, and the port is a separate argument here. Okay, maybe does the port need to be a separate argument here? Because this guy also does not specify a port. Maybe that's the next thing that we should look into. Let's see if the quick connection works. I saved the password. Okay. Connecting does not look very successful so far. Oh, and now something happened. The server does not support FTP over TLS, so it's unsafe. Yes, yes. Always allow insecure plain FTP for the server. Okay. Oh, and it works. So, oh, yes, and I can access my phone directory here. So this means that these credentials here and this URL, they are valid and they should work also from Python. So let's have a look how this FTP host is defined. Which arguments does it accept? Because maybe I have to somehow differently pass the port. That would be my next suspicion. So if I do a vim grep for FTP host here, vim grep FTP host, let's see what happens if I search for it here. Okay. So there's some sample code. We are currently in the init Python file of FTP util, which contains some documentation. If I search for port in here, there's nothing. So how the hell is the port specified? What if I search for dev class? No, dev FTP host. No, nothing. But there's the, right, it's in Python, the syntax is like that. Class and then the name of the class. Let's see what arguments it expects. Open. So somehow something is not really adding up for me. Where can I add a port? That's weird. If I search for port, all I get is support. So that's not really what I want. If I search for space port, maybe. No, then I get portion, which is also not a real match, not the match that I hoped for. FTP util port. Let's have a look. Construction here. FTP host instances can be created with the following call: server user password account session factory FTP. Okay. FTP host objects can also be used in a with statement, but the server What's the server? No, somehow I'm not really learning anything here. Let's just try again. Name or service is not known. What if I just copy this? And search for it online. Error number -2. Name or service not known, FTP util. The FTP command, that's the system command in Linux probably, accepts the server name, not a URL. Okay, so if I change this and if I don't pass the port, what happens then? Connection refused. Okay, but this is okay, this means we don't pass the server URL, but this right here, what if I just re-add the port? Maybe before I made a mistake. Name or service not known. No, that's not it. But then how do I specify the port? That's weird. FTP util port. And I search for port here. Assume you want to connect to another than the default port, but FTP libFTP only offers this means of its connect. It only offers this by means of its connect method, not via its constructor. And that's the discrepancy that we're facing. So there's no support for anything other than a default port. One solution is to use a custom class as a session factory. So here there's a class, my session. We initialize it with a port and then we connect. Okay, basically we specify that we want to connect to a host and a port here. And this is just a class that wraps around the base FTP object, if I understand correctly. Or here we can specify a port apparently. Okay, what if I just try this? Port equals 2325. Maybe it works. No, this doesn't work. Okay, so it doesn't seem to expect the port. But then what is the difference to this line of code? With FTP util FTP host. Host user ID password port. Session factory is my session and then it uses this class here. Okay, I see. That's weird. Why is it so annoying? I could probably, wait, is it unusual that I'm using this specific port? What if I stop and restart the server on my system? It seems to be using the same port all of the time. So, okay. Then let's use the session constructor. Even though it's a weird complication that sounds so optional, but okay, I'll just accept it. So we are going to call this, we connect to a host, we log in, and then we can specify the port here, but we also have to specify that we want to use a different session constructor, no, a different session factory here. Session factory my session. I don't like that it is called my session, so let's replace that, my session, and rename that FTP session with port. Okay, and let's try. And now it tells us that ftplib is not defined. What? ftplib. Oh no, we're not even looking up the right documentation. No, that was wrong. Or are we? ftplib. Do I have to also install ftplib? Maybe the ftp util is a wrapper around the ftplib one. Oh, it's not really getting any simpler. So if I do pip install ftplib, let's see what happens. This doesn't seem to want to work. Name ftplib is not defined. ftplib, where am I using this? Up here, okay. I have to import ftplib, of course. And now, I don't want to install it. Let's just call the script now. And now it seems to just complain about the incorrect login. Did I maybe, due to restart, change the password? Yes. Okay, I will, and I can even, in a setting here, let me just show it to you again. There's a setting to fix the port and the password such that I don't have to change it every time. So now I will keep the port 2325 just because we solved this port issue. And then let's set the password to something stupid because it's just going to be inside my local network 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's start. Okay, and now let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. And let's see. And okay. It seems like it connected, at least it didn't throw an error, which is super nice. However, now there is some issue because it's not printing any files, which is not what I would expect it, because here I specify print file name. Right, I know why. And that is because the first folder that this script logs into is probably not a file. Because if you remember, we opened the phone on the FileZilla client here. And here it opened as a first directory, this parent directory, and under it there are only subdirectories and there's no file. So we can just do something like if path is directory and try to rerun it. Path has no attribute, is directory. Let's have a look at Python paths. Python path is directory. Is file, there's is dir. Okay, is dir. And now, right, it works. Okay, so we are accessing now the phone, which is awesome news. So, and this is the first directory on the device. It's called device. And since I don't want to just list directories and I actually want to download stuff, let's change something here. Because I want to move into a specific directory. Which directory do I want to move into? Let's just go into FileZilla, update the password to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, quick connect, and connect here. And I want to log into this device directory and then download the entire DCIM directory, because this is the one that contains all my data. All the images that I want to back up, all the photos that I took. Okay, how can I do it? So basically the path that we're looking at is /device/DCIM. And this means we have to somehow move into this directory. This host here is the FTP host. We can list directories. Let's have a look what other functions are available here. List directory. Def list dir. Right, that's the function definition of list directory. There's else dat, which returns probably file sizes, I think. That's list dir. Walk, okay. Change mod. Rename, we can even rename things via FTP automatically. That's nice. Remove directory. So we can even mess up things a lot. Let's see if there's download here. Download. Download if newer. Oh, that's super useful if you're doing incremental backups. Then, or if you're doing fast backups, then you only download files if they are newer than the target on the local host here. Very, very useful, but I don't want that. I just want to download files. Okay, so here I want to download from the source, which is on my phone, to the target, which is the local directory. So download a file from the remote source to the local target. And I guess, what's the data type of source and target that's expected here? Source is equal to, looks like a string path, just like the target probably. Okay, I will just try it in a probably naive way, but inside the host, I want to do download. And I want to download from source, which is /device/DCIM. And let me just download an individual file for a start. So inside FileZilla, let's have a look here, camera. Let's just download this file. Wait, I have to first check what file that is. Not that I leak anything personal here. Where did that download to? Here, that's my home directory. Let's have a look. Okay, that's our dog. That's fine. So let's copy this file name here, rename copy, paste it here, and see if we can download this file via Python script. Oh, and that doesn't work, of course, because we have to download. There's a syntax error. We have to close the quote. No, I need to specify that I want to download to the current directory. I don't know if this dot notation works inside this Python function. And then we can even specify a callback. That's a function that executes after the file is downloaded. That's actually quite nice. So if we define here a function called download finished, and it takes no arguments. Let's remove all this to-do stuff here. Actually, we just want to print download finished for just download finished. And that's the callback. Callback equals download finished. Let's see. Okay, that doesn't work. Name download is not defined. Why is it not defined? I mean, I'm using the download function on the host. All right, so I have to probably do host.download. And now, now there's an FTP-IO error. And it's complaining about no such file or directory, probably because the path is wrong. The file is located in DCIM, device/DCIM, and then in FTP FileZilla, we can see that the path is under camera. Right, so DCIM, camera, this. And now this is a directory. Wait, what is that? We open that file. The target seems to be the issue. Is a directory error. Is a directory, and then that's the current directory. Yes, but I want to download to this target. So if I just call the target.jpg, then probably it will work, although this is not very pleasing. Download finished. Takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. Oh, there's a type error. So this takes some argument. Let's print the argument. And use the F format specifier. Let's see if it works now. Oh, that's the downloaded file probably. That's the binary data of the downloaded file. Okay, so we don't want to print the entire downloaded file here. That's not what we want. Let's just print download finished and then be happy about that. That's probably a callback to do something on the file directly. Oh, that's a lot of callbacks. I don't know why we get so many. Let me just remove them. They're somehow annoying. And let's remove the callback invocation down here. And as you can see, now that we execute this, it just terminates without any errors, which is always a very good sign. And then there's a target JPEG. Let's XDG open it. Target.jpg, and we should see an image of a dog. How nice is that? Okay, so we have downloaded a real file from the phone now. So remember, this is really coming from my phone. This is a wireless connection. There's no wire attached here. It's just downloading this file. I mean, this is awesome. And what if I download the entire camera folder? I download the entire camera folder like this. So I transfer directory to directory. I don't know if this works. And this doesn't work. Operation on invalid file. So it seems that we really have to list the files inside the host and transfer the files individually somehow. So I think we cannot download folders, we can only download files. And to do that, we have to list the files in a directory first. So host, and then we get, can we somehow check is directory? Let's have a look at the sample code again. Right, right, okay. We can access host.path is file, and then we specify a name here. Or rather, we list the full directory. We list the current directory, get all names, and if a file is a file, then we download it. Okay. Host, list directory. But we don't want to list the current directory. I want to always list device, DCIM camera. And then, okay, then of course only if the file is a file, not a directory, then we download the file. So we device DCIM camera. That returns a list of names, a list of file names. Oops. So names equals this. For name in names, we do if host path is file, I think it was. Yes, name. Then we download name, name. And this should put all of the files inside this directory into the current directory. Okay. Let's have a look at the rest of the documentation. What? Right, and here it even states, as we discovered earlier, the FTP util module is a high-level interface to the FTP lib module. So this is a wrapper that makes everything easier, it seems. We can even use FTP host path walk to recursively walk the path, it seems. Similar to OS path walk, the walk method can be used through FTP host walk. What? Okay, what is OS path walk? Because recursive downloading is probably quite nice. The Python walk method displays the file names in the specified directory tree by traversing the tree either in top-down or bottom-up approach. For each directory in the tree, OS walk method produces a 3-tuple that contains the directory path, and a list of subdirectories inside the current directory and file names. So here we can walk files recursively, and for every file that we encounter, we join it to the root. For every name in dir. What? No, okay, I think it's good enough. We don't need any recursive updating, because if I take pictures with my phone, then my phone will put the pictures into the same directory. It will not create any subdirectories. So this is an unnecessary complication right now, at least as long as I just want to synchronize my pictures. So I would say we list files from the login directory, from this directory here. We download them, but we download them not into the current directory. We download them into a subdirectory called camera. So how do we do that? Download. By the way, let's just try and see if it works. And yes, it's probably working. That's why it's not doing anything. And if I open in files this directory, let's just have a look. It's in projects here, and then Python phone backup. No, it's not downloading anything, it seems. Let's interrupt it. It has downloaded the target, but that was from before, so somehow it's not doing anything. We list the directory. The FTP server is still active. No, this I don't really get. Why is it not doing anything? That's weird. Now I would expect files to pop up in my current directory here. So why is nothing happening? We list this directory, host list dir. Let's have a look at the documentation here. List dir. returns a list containing the names of the files and directories in the given path, similar to OS list here. Oh wait, maybe it is downloading the files, but since I'm listing the file names like this using an absolute path, maybe this is also putting the files in the same absolute path on my system here, because I download from name to name. That would be unfortunate. Let's have a look. Is there a device directory now? I hope there's not. No, but something is definitely wrong here. Let's just, instead of downloading the files, let's just print the files for now. Name, print, name. And this doesn't do anything either. That's confusing. For name in names. What if we print names? That's weird. Oh, it worked. Okay, it works. It works, guys. So this is listing all the files in my phone. There are a lot of files, so maybe that's why it's taking some time. I don't understand why it's printing the entire names array or list, but not the individual names down here. So maybe it's working now if we test it now. Let's try. Let's give it some time and wait. And maybe, I think I know what could be wrong. And that is, we are fetching names, and this gives us file names. They are not joined to this root directory here that we want to back up from. And then if we check if that path is a file, it checks just the file name and considers it as an absolute file path, which is of course not. And then these files are never considered files. I don't know why the application stays active for so long, probably because it's querying so many files. But yeah. So what we would have to do is maybe create a backup from path, and that is equal to this path right here. And then we back up from this path. That's our backup from this path. And then we want a backup to path. And it's just called camera. By the way, I never know whether to use regular quotes or single quotes in Python. So that's why I mix them up often. So this is the backup to path. Maybe we can make it more explicit somehow like this. And then I want to list this directory. This returns the names inside that directory. And then we check, is that file a name? Maybe instead of having to join the names together again to this backup from path, maybe it's easier to somehow move the host into this directory. I don't know if that's possible. Is there something like a change directory command here? Move. There's only remove. What if I search for current directory? So this path may be absolute or relative to the current directory on the remote host. This directory can be determined with the get current WD method. returns the absolute current directory on the remote host. Change directory, that's the one that I needed. Change directory sets the current directory on the FTP server. This resembles OS change dir, as you may have expected. Yes, okay. So instead of listing inside this backup path, let's change directory, host change directory into the backup from path. And then here, let's list inside the host current directory. I hope this works. I don't know if current directory is a field there. I remember something from the code samples. Curdir it is. It's curdir. Why did it suggest current directory? And now if we execute this, should it work? We have changed into the backup from path. We list the current directory now because we have changed into the backup directory. And then we download all the files. First we print all the files. Let's see if we can print all the files. Yes, this is super nice. This is a very good sign. And now instead of just listing them, let's download them. And then we print f downloaded. Oh, it's so nice that we learned so many small things in Python, or at least I learned them. I probably you already learned them. So downloaded this to, and let's call it target. And then the target path that we download to is equal to, and how do we join two directories? Python join two paths. OS path join. Okay. And basically I want to join camera and name. Let's see if this works. No, OS is not defined. I have to import OS up here. And let's see now. If this works, I'll flip out. And we're downloading files, guys, from the original file path to camera / the file name. Let's have a look at the directory that we are in. I will cancel the operation, otherwise it would take hours probably. Let's xdg open that. And as you can see, I have downloaded images from my phone, but they are not in a camera subfolder. No, that's wrong. So why does it claim that it's downloading to camera / something? That's not correct, but it's already quite nice. So here we are downloading something to camera / something. All right, because I have to download to target like this. And probably if we do this, then now the script will fail because the target directory does not exist. Right, no such file or directory. And now this means we have to create the directory if it does not yet exist. So the target directory is this. Let's rename it. Right, this is the backup to path. It is camera. And if that directory does not exist, let's look up Python create directory if not exists. If not OS path exists, OS make dirs. Okay. If not OS path exists, backup to path, then OS path make dirs. Backup to path. So if the directory does not exist, we create it first. Let's have a look now. First of all, I'm going to clean all the JPEG images, all the JPEG files, I mean. Now we have an empty directory again. If I open it using xdg, let's have a look. So the directory is empty, but I expect now a camera folder to be created. And the images to be placed inside it. Oh, that doesn't work. So OS path make dirs did not work. Right, because it's OS make dirs, not OS path make dirs. Okay, that's now fixed. Let's have a look. File not found error. Let's try again. File not found error. No such file or directory. It's trying to access this file. It claims there's no such file or directory. That's weird. Wait, but the download command is not deleting files from my phone, is it? That would be super bad. It shouldn't. So why is it complaining that there's no such file or directory? Okay, even if there's no such file or directory, there should be now a camera directory. Yes, there is. It's empty because no files have been downloaded. That's okay. That's the backup to path. Target backup from path, and then we back up into this. Oh no. Ah, right. Okay, I get it. Because we have the target directory we want to back into on my computer needs to be the backup to path, not the backup from path. So let's fix that. And now I hope it's working. If this is working, this is a super nice presentation of how Python is supposed to be used. Now it's downloading files into my current directory, yes, and it's all working. As you can see, we have created our own Python-based backup tool here. It's downloading all the images from my phone via FTP. I only have to execute the script, and it's creating a full backup with all the images on my phone inside a camera directory where I execute the script. Guys, this is so awesome. If you want to back up your stuff, do something similar. If you have more ideas for future projects, then let me know. And also if you have suggestions for more projects in the future. I really enjoy this Python stuff. It's fun to just create something that's so valuable. Because this used to be something that I spent a lot of time with. I created, or I manually backed up stuff before all the time. Now all I have to do is I have to start this FTP server on my phone. And now it's just downloading stuff to my computer. Awesome. If you enjoyed it, then see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.